Your lawn is too tall and the fence is unauthorized. You have 24 hours to comply or the fines double.
This is ridiculous. We are taking legal action.
I woke up to giant orange papers duct taped across my sidewalk like crime scene tags, flapping in the cold morning air. My bare feet hit the concrete and it felt like ice. The smell of wet asphalt from last night's drizzle mixed with my neighbor's strong coffee drifting over the fence. I walked closer and my stomach dropped. Each sheet had my name in huge black letters, the word delinquent underlined 3 times, and a big fake total, dues owed $450. Cars drove by slow. One neighbor actually stopped to stare before pretending to check her phone. This wasn't just a notice. It was a public shaming, right on the walkway my kids use for chalk drawings. In that moment I knew what this fight was about. HOA posted fines on my sidewalk for unpaid dues that I filed the injunction. The crazy part? My dues were set to auto-pay. I hadn't missed a thing. I grabbed one of the papers. The tape ripped a chunk of gray off the concrete and left sticky lines. My hands shook from anger and cold. I marched to the clubhouse, still in my hoodie and shorts. Inside, the air smelled like burnt coffee and lemon cleaner. Karen, our HOA president, sat behind a folding table like a queen on a throne, red nails tapping her phone. I told her there had to be a mistake. She didn't even look up when she said, "If you don't like how we handle things, you can always move." I tried to stay calm. I showed her my bank app with the payments. She waved her hand like she was shooing a fly. System issues, not my problem. Until we see proof in our files, the fines stand. I asked for a meeting with the board. She smirked and said they were all aligned with her. That night, May 3, 2024 at 7:30 p.m., I went to the open HOA meeting. Mostly older neighbors sat stiff, eyes down. When I spoke up about the sidewalk posters, Karen cut me off. She said I had been aggressive with staff and hinted I might be a danger. People shifted in their seats. This was not a mistake. This was a smear. Timeline item 1 April 5 at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. That was when she had called security on me for walking my own dog. I suddenly saw the pattern. I walked home under the yellow streetlights, so mad my teeth hurt. I knew one thing, I was not going to play the quiet, scared neighbor role. But I also promised myself I wouldn't do anything stupid. No yelling matches. No vandalism. Just the proper channels, every single one. I pulled my dusty HOA binder off the shelf and made coffee so strong it burned my throat. I read the bylaws front to back. There it was in plain words, the HOA could not publicly post alleged debts in a way that caused harassment or humiliation. I highlighted that part so hard the page crinkled. I dug into state law on my laptop. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. I whispered that sentence to myself like a spell. Then I opened a fresh binder. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. Each page made my anger feel less wild and more sharp. The next day I went to City Hall. The lobby smelled like paper and old air conditioning. At the clerk's window I asked for public records about complaints in our subdivision. The woman behind the glass looked tired but kind. She typed for a long time. Then she came back with a thick stack and dropped it on the counter. The file landed with 63 pages. I carried it to a plastic chair and started reading. There were 22 complaints about Karen and the HOA board in the last year alone. Harassment. Selective enforcement. False reports. My hand shook again, but this time with something that felt like power. I called a local attorney who did HOA cases and emailed him everything. He wrote back that afternoon, "This is textbook abuse. We can ask for an injunction." Seeing that word on my screen felt like someone had finally turned on the lights. We filed in county court that week. My attorney attached photos of my sidewalk, bank records showing my dues paid on time, copies of the bylaws, and those city complaint records. He even put in a timeline of every petty thing she'd done. When we were done, the stack looked like a small weapon, but a legal one. The judge reviewed our emergency motion and set a hearing fast. On the day, the courtroom was cold and smelled like dust and perfume. Karen showed up in a bright blazer, acting bored. When she tried to say the sidewalk posters were standard practice, my attorney slid the bylaws over. The judge raised her eyebrows so high I thought they might fly off. Then she read from the complaint file and asked why so many neighbors had similar stories. Karen started to stutter. The judge granted the injunction on the spot and ordered the HOA to remove every public notice and stop any future posting like that. The real twist came that evening, at the next HOA meeting. The orange posters were gone from my sidewalk, but people had heard things. The room was packed. Phones were out. Half the neighborhood was recording. My attorney showed up with a copy of the signed order and handed it to Karen in front of everyone. Her face went red, then white. He explained in simple words that the HOA had broken its own rules and state law, and that any more stunts could mean fines and personal liability. Someone in the back actually clapped. Then others joined. Videos hit our neighborhood Facebook page, then a local subreddit. Comments rolled in. People called her the sidewalk sheriff. The board went into a closed-door panic session and came out with forced smiles. They announced that all my dues issues were resolved and that they would review enforcement practices. Nobody bought it. The aftermath came slow but steady. Over the next month, 3 board members resigned. At the special election, Karen lost her seat by a landslide and had to sit in a folding chair like everyone else while the new president thanked the neighbors who stood up. Part of the settlement the attorney got included the HOA paying my legal fees, around $2,300, and sending me a written apology. They also had to send a letter to the whole neighborhood saying I was in good standing. The best part wasn't the money. It was walking down my clean sidewalk with my kids drawing flowers in chalk again, no angry posters, no side eyes. One of my older neighbors brought over fresh cookies and whispered that she finally felt safe to complain when things were wrong. The cold, tight feeling in our community started to melt. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.